Good evening, and welcome back to the Placid podcast. I'm here with my co-host David.
Good evening, everyone.
And what topic do you have for us today?
Well, I did something for the first time in a long time the other day, and that first thing I did was pre-order a game from GameStop.
You pre-ordered.
I pre-ordered Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the Switch, and
Uh,
my question, because when we were young, a decade or so ago, and there was a period of time where GameStop was popping off. Like if you wanted to get a game, GameStop was the place to go.
yeah.
Especially during the 360 PS3 days. Like I used to have a list on my bedroom wall growing up of like upcoming games that I was gonna get and like the release date, and I would hype up all these games and I just remember all these commercials on TV for like, oh, go to GameStop, pre-order this game. Like I specifically remember Red Dead Redemption 1 being hyped up and commercials for Mass Effect 3 and even going a little bit further back, like Assassin's Creed 2 and Dead Rising 2. And there was a time period where GameStop was like the king of games. And, if you wanted to, the only place to get pre-owned games was GameStop too. And it's just kind of interesting because nowadays GameStop is like the complete shell of itself. Like when I went in to pre-order this game, like there was nobody in there, and it was the afternoon. This was at like 6 p.m. Nobody was in the GameStop at all. And most of the store wasn't even games. Like when you walk in at this GameStop I went to, at least, the games were all the way in the back. The PS5, the Xbox Series X and Switch games were all the way in the back. In the very front was t-shirts, Funko Pops, random like gamer crap, like a Minecraft lamp, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And like it was just so weird. I was like, man, because I haven't stepped foot in a GameStop in like 3 years. Like I had went in to buy a 3DS a while back, which it was shocking that they still had a 3DS console in the back, but they did. But
That is surprising.
But since COVID, because like when we were all inside in 2020, like I bought Switch games from GameStop. Like I bought at the time Animal Crossing, the newest Animal Crossing when it came out. I bought Doom Eternal from GameStop. I bought Paper Mario Origami King from GameStop. But since 2020, I hadn't bought anything from GameStop until now, and it was just weird to come back in. And like the last time I pre-ordered a game from GameStop was probably like 2013, 14. Because like, I don't, for those of you who may not remember this age-wise, there was a time where you would get pre-order bonuses for pre-ordering games. Like, oh, you get a poster if you pre-order the game. Like the map of the Caribbean that you've seen that I have, that has Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag on the bottom right corner. That was a pre-order bonus that I got for pre-ordering Assassin's Creed 4 way back in 2013.
Yeah.
So they don't do that anymore. They don't offer pre-order bonuses. They don't do steelbook cases anymore. Remember how it's like, oh, if you pre-order, you get a steelbook case, and it was like the big, like, whoa,
Yeah, they've kind of opted for it just being extra digital content. Like if you pre-ordered Starfield, you got some skins, and it's funny because that entire game has no skins outside of the ones that you get from the pre-order.
Yeah,
So, like you can't change the look of anything.
And so I guess my question for you is, do you remember the last time you bought anything from GameStop, or do you remember the last time you pre-ordered anything from GameStop?
I've never
And what was
pre-ordered
it?
anything in my life, so that's just
Whoa,
gonna be a
wow.
nothing. Yeah.
You never, like, not even once?
If there was anything I pre-ordered, let me take a look at my library real quick. This will give me a second.
Well, while you're doing that, yeah, it was just kind of weird because, like, you'd think if you go to GameStop, the first thing that you should see is the games. But literally, like, the front was, like, Funko Pops and T-shirts. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't really feel like a GameStop. It feels like a hot topic.
They've got a new niche.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, I was just thinking back to, like, we're old. You and I are old enough to remember when, like, retro games were, like, Super Nintendo and NES games.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when GameStop was selling PS2 and Xbox original games and GameCube games. I remember buying GameCube games off the shelf for like $10, and even the 360, like, we are very old. And even 360 games are being seen as retro. And like I'll see games online that I specifically remember buying from the GameStop near the house that I used to live in for like $15, and it's like, oh yeah, these are $70 games now, and it's like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
bro.
It's rough.
But yeah, GameStop, in my opinion, like, it's kind of going the way of Blockbuster, because there was a time where Blockbuster was a powerhouse, right? There was a Blockbuster near my house growing up, and now it doesn't exist anymore. Or like Circuit City, you know? And I feel like GameStop is, at death's door at this point, because like, not only are gaming companies shifting towards doing digital only, but like, why would I go to GameStop when I could just buy games on my PC that are coming out, like new games,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just kind of interesting to be back in there and paying for a copy of Paper Mario, and I'm just like, wow, I haven't done this in a long time. So I was just curious to see, like, maybe not pre-order, but when's the last time you bought anything from a GameStop? Period.
Yeah. I checked that. I was thinking that I might have gotten Dying Light 2, but I don't think I did pre-order that one either. But yeah, so I don't think I've ever pre-ordered a game. I've never really had the money to buy a game at full price until I became an adult. So at that point, I was already kind of not interested in the stuff. I didn't do a lot of the buying any games because I didn't have any money as a kid. So like, my money wasn't, I didn't have money. It was just whatever my parents were willing to buy for me. So for gifts and stuff, we get things from like GameStop, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure the last thing I bought from a GameStop was Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Yeah.
That would be it.
There were Mirror's Edge Catalyst, okay. It's kind of interesting. Like, I feel like electronic boutiques, as they were, like Best Buy is another example of a store that, like, I don't feel the need to go to Best Buy anymore. Like, when I was young, I used to love going to Best Buy. Oh, what do they got? And like the last big thing I bought from Best Buy was my PC, again, back in 2020, and that was like the first gaming PC that I got. But nowadays, if I were to buy another PC, I would just do it online, because I know what I'm looking for now. I didn't know back then in 2020, because I was, again, my first gaming PC, like, what do I need or what do I want? But like Best Buy too, like when I step foot in Best Buy, I hate it. Like, it's so disorganized. It's weird too, because like the Best Buy near me, a huge section is dedicated towards kitchen appliances. Yeah. And it's like, who goes to a Best Buy to buy a fridge?
See, because now
why?
Modern appliances are less about being, party appliances that you do for things, and they've become these technological, like, I would say appliance, but they're like systems now. They're so electronic now. It's not such a mechanical heavy thing. These are all just electric servos and things that get moved, as opposed to this is an engine that rotates. I mean, it's not gas powered, but I feel like technologically speaking, it went from being a mechanical device to electric device.
But like, there was like rows of microwaves, and like, I swear to gosh, there was a toaster oven. Like a toaster oven at a Best Buy, and I'm like, why would I ever buy a toaster oven off Best Buy? I just go on Amazon and buy a toaster oven. It'd be way cheaper.
Yeah,
probably do the same thing.
You get refrigerators, you can get dryers and washers, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The smart kind.
Yeah, but I feel like, with the move, like, I would only ever go to Best Buy for DVDs and games, and like my computer. But growing up, all I would do is, what games and DVDs they have at Best Buy. But now, with company, like, the big move is streaming for movies and digital only for games. So I wonder how much longer it'll be before GameStop is just like, yeah, we're done. We're closing our stores. Because, like, what's the point of GameStop?
Yeah, it's more like the gamer stop, and you just go there if you like games and you like game accessories. Pro games and pro game accessories.
Well, the big draw to GameStop way back when was it was the only place you could buy pre-owned games. Not the only place, but like the biggest place.
Yeah, only like chain that you could find in obvious places where you had smaller things like Game Exchange out here
Yeah, and retro gaming wasn't a thing yet when we were young because it was only limited towards the Super Nintendo and NES, and so there weren't these like nowadays. There's retro game stores all around me in Texas. I don't know, how big it is over where you are, but there's tons of retro game stores all around the Dallas area. I guarantee they weren't there a decade ago.
Since I'm not looking for them, I wouldn't know where they are. I know there's a lot of they're labeled as like game stores, but they're like tabletop game stores. They're the kind of place where you can buy miniatures and tabletop books,
D&D
Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Yeah, I got a bunch of those. It's dusty as hell.
Yeah, I remember I actually went to one a couple of years ago when I used to live in California in Simi Valley, believe it or not, and I was just curious. I was like, because it didn't say video games or board games, it was like something games, and it was a store. And yeah, it was very interesting being in one where it's just like a huge section dedicated towards like figures, and it's not like display figures. It was stuff for like board games.
Was it next to the Korean barbecue place?
Yes.
I think it's called, Tower Games? At least
Yes.
a while ago is what it was called?
Yeah. Yeah, I went in there and I was just like, wow, they had literally a whole section where you could buy and paint a figure for your board game.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
And even now, sure, you can go in, spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on miniatures, or you can spend a few $100s on a 3D printer and do it all yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Because people post their own things online. That's something my brother was doing. He was, I don't know if he was making any of the models himself or editing them, but he was definitely acquiring them, printing them, and painting them as one of his hobbies. I know Jacksepticeye does the same thing.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to be the next big store chain to close? Because the big ones that I could think of were, Sears, Circuit City, or at least recently. Circuit City's not that recent, but you know what I mean, like Sears, like that kind of thing. Like, what's the next big chain store to just give up? If you had to guess.
Well, that's rough because a place like Best Buy, it's really big, and their hours kind of suck already. So it's not like they're losing a lot of money by being open so long and having nobody in there. Because last time I went in there, there was actually a lot of people. So I don't think Best Buy is going to be on that list anytime soon, especially with how much physical, not media, but physical things that they sell that are actually very useful.
I guess if you wanted to buy a TV or something like that, go to Best Buy.
TVs, sound bars, the cables required for all those things. It's actually, we don't have a Micro Center nearby, but there's a section now in Best Buy that's got things like graphics cards and PC, internal components, which I hadn't seen before. I know they have, regular peripherals like keyboards, mouse, and things like that, but it was my first time seeing internal things. I think you can buy a CPU there as well, which is awesome. I'm glad they're branching into that because without having a Micro Center here, I don't have access to that stuff without driving 2 hours away. But to answer the question, I would say probably, I think retailers, clothing retailers, would be the...
like Kohl's?
Yeah, because they've been struggling for the past 10 years because of Amazon's explosive growth. And there's so many smaller clothing boutiques that people, own. Of course, those are way more expensive than anything you'll ever find at a place like Kohl's. But I can buy the exact t-shirt I want online. If I want to buy a t-shirt, and for men's clothing, that's often all you're going to be selling to them. You're going to sell some basic button-ups and some basic shirts. That's what you get for men's clothes. And I'll tell you, it's a pain in the ass because I don't want those. But when I do want those, I don't need to go into a store to do it. I'm just going to go online, pick the size that I currently closely resemble, and buy a couple of them for half the price that I would at actual Kohl's. Kohl's, they do a lot of clearance stuff, and they never have the size that I need. That's just the law. That's the nature of clearance racks is that, oh, is this your size? Well, either your size is incredibly popular or incredibly weird, because either it's being all bought out or no one's buying it, so we don't have it. And so you can't find what you need on a clearance rack. And it's just half the price of what I would want. So there's no reason for me to go there, except for maybe shoes. But they have places that sell exclusively shoes, which I'd more likely to go to the specialist than some general thing that only has some of what I want.
Yeah, and I think too, like, a lot of people like go to Ross for their clothes now.
Yeah, right. It's cheaper.
Way cheaper. And like, if you're gonna go get shoes, like, I have to agree, like, I don't know what it is about Kohl's, but anytime I go there and like I need something for some reason, my particular size, like throughout my life, like as I've grown up, and they never have the size that I need.
Yep.
It's just like, it's like they see me coming in and they're like, quick, hide his size now.
Yeah, no, it's crazy actually. When I was in high school, I was much scrawnier than I am now, and I might seem generally scrawny to people still, but I have way more build on me than I did then. And then I was wearing pants like 32s, you know? They stop right at the ankles. I didn't realize that I could get longer ones. Yeah. And now I'm looking for things that are closer to 32 in waist width, 32, 33, right? And my length, I'm going around 33, 34, because I want not it to be baggy, but to have a little bit of extra sleeve for if I want to cuff it up. Cool, I can do that. If I don't, great, it looks fine either way. I'm not buying baggy pants, but they've got a little bit of extra length, so when I'm sitting down, they don't pull up to half my calf, you know? And even through those size changes, I've also just had a hard time finding the pants I need. So I buy pants hardly ever, because I buy a size that I think, oh, this is my size. I get it, I wear it once or twice or whatever. I wash it, however, if I feel like I need to. And because jeans, you're not supposed to, wash regularly. You're supposed to wash them far less than regular clothes. And I sit around in my pants, I'm not doing physical activity. But anyway, I completely lost my train of thought.
Clothing size at Kohl's.
Yeah, it's gone. Dust in the wind.
Well, I was thinking while you were talking about that, like, what are some other chains that are dying, like Bed Bath and Beyond?
Oh, they're gone.
Still exists.
There's a one. Also, this one was in See Me. I think this one was in the Regal Plaza. That one's gone.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one since, actually.
Remember Gap? I feel like Gap is dead, or if not dying.
You know what? I never actually paid attention to Gap. I never went there. Something about it seemed cheap, so I just never bothered. Which is weird, because, all I did was get cheap stuff, but it seemed like it was worse somehow.
Fry's Electronics used to be pretty big when we were young.
Have they closed any locations?
Yeah.
Oh, the ones out here I think are still... Oh, out here, they're still far away.
There's like 2 dead Fry's stores near me that still have like the logo, but they're just completely cleaned out. Huh. And they've been that way for at least the couple of years that I've been in Dallas.
I know I think there's 2 that are popular in Southern California. I think both of them are running just fine.
Remember, it was a recent one that closed, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, was Toys R Us.
Oh yeah, they had their chapters of bankruptcy. Now they're Quizno sized. And
that was a huge part of our childhood.
And Blockbuster.
Man, yeah, Blockbuster and Toys R Us. Those are 2 staples of our childhood. Dude, every time I went to Toys R Us when I was a kid, it was like, I'm in heaven. This is heaven. And that was interesting because I don't know what it is. Like, what's crazy too, and I've seen like 3 stores out here. Party City. Like, how is Party City still a thing?
Yeah, I guess there's always a need for a celebration. There's a birthday at least every day of the year, so like people need to go in there to pick up party things.
But I wonder, like, when it gets to a point where a store, like, something switches with the store, like, they're no longer, like, there was a time, like, the early 2000s where Toys R Us was extremely popular and like one of the biggest stores to go to. And I wonder when it was that point where it just shifted, because you can tell with GameStop, like the shift that companies are making towards digital and the growth of PC gaming over the years, because how big PC gaming is now compared to a decade ago, it's two very different things. Like PC gaming has gotten more and more popular every year. And then, of course, again, the change to digital media. And so that's where you can kind of pinpoint, like, okay, that's when GameStop is starting to fall apart. And, like, Circuit City fell apart because, you know, there were other stores popping up that did what Circuit City did, but better. And so I wonder, like, what are some, like, you know, Quiznos had a lot of issues with its food, like a lot of huge scandals. Like, people just stopped going because I'll just go to Subway. They're cheaper, and I'm not going to die when I eat a sub and from Subway. So I wonder, like, when it gets to a point like for Bed Bath & Beyond, because Bed Bath & Beyond used to be huge again when we were young, and I wonder what it is with these stores, like what the turning points where it's like, okay, we're losing profits, people aren't coming anymore, you know, stuff like that. But
I think it's diversifying is really the thing, and I know that word gets used a lot when it comes to stocks. Diversify your stocks and you'll be safer. That's also true, but diversifying your stock, as in the content that you carry in your store, is kind of what's helped places like Kohl's survive this long. Because you look at Target and Walmart, they start out as just regular, like, I don't even know what they weren't grocery stores, but now they are. They were just kind of, you go here and you can buy a bunch of things you need. We have some clothes, we have some electronics, we have some general household things, home goods, things like that. Not the store home goods, but we have home goods. And I think those are what have helped. I mean, Target and Walmart have also just made a name for themselves outside of that. Walmart, of course, for being super cheap, and also the place where you want to go if you want to people watch. Target is, you know, I guess Walmart plus as far as pricing goes, but they're the same kind of content. You can still find more stuff at Walmart. Walmart, somehow they have the biggest content of different things. You can't find nearly as much automotive things that you need at Target than you will at Walmart. Walmart's way better for grabbing things for your car. Of course, nothing beats AutoZone or O'Reilly. You know, they have literally all the things you need. And those diversifications that those chains have done has seriously helped them, because it's like, oh, I want to pick up this, I'll just stop by Target, they've got it, or Walmart, they've got it for 50 cents somehow. The one thing that they both struggle with that somehow grocery stores thrive with, though I feel like it's kind of backwards, because, you know, I think of a grocery store as the place that has necessities and you have to get those, but it's the exotic sodas. I can't fucking find any at places like Walmart or Target. They just never have them. I mean, those are the places I would expect to have them. Like, if I want to find something weird, this is where I would go. I wouldn't go to Ralph's or Albertsons, because I feel like they only have the basics for things like soda, but it's completely the other way around. And maybe that's just my own perception is wrong.
It is, because out here for me, I get most of my weird sodas from Walmart out here.
No fucking way. Bro.
We had this conversation before off the podcast, but yeah, most of my exotic sodas, I actually just got one today that I'm going to post in a different Discord we have, came from Walmart. Most of my sodas come from Walmart. Or we have there's another place out here called Tom Thumb, which is very similar to like, yeah, it's literally called Tom Thumb. And okay. I would, what was when we were living in Valencia, what was the store that was next to us at the time a couple years ago that we went to?
Stater Brothers?
Yeah, Tom Thumb is very much like Stater Bros. And I would get a lot of exotic sodas when I lived more central Dallas from Tom Thumb. But yeah, most of my stuff comes from Walmart.
Wow.
When it comes to soda.
Okay, in that case, I take it all back. It's just because you go Midwest, South of the United States, and you get all the different interesting flavors of sodas you could possibly want. You live in Southern California? Fuck you. You can't get shit. You get cherry Coke. Great. Give me another cherry flavored piece. there's this new Sprite that's come around. It's called Sprite Chill. And you know what it is? It's cherry lime. And
That sounds horrible.
if you like cherry limeade, then I guess it's good, but I don't. It's not a flavor that I really like all that much. And man, it's so sad that I can't get the different flavors I want.
I can't go get my exotic soda.
I want exotic. No, I only get like, oh, here's a small brand that tried their hand at making root beer and it sucks. Like, great. Or this root beer tastes exclusively like wintergreen. Like, I don't want just minty root beer. I want better root beer. Or,
I used to be.
I don't know.
I used to be a huge root beer guy, especially when I was young. But now I really don't like root beer at all. And I don't really know when, like, at what point in my life that I'm just over root beer. But I used to drink like A&W, Mug, Bargs, all the root beer sodas. Like, that'd be my go-to drink. And then I guess maybe around, I want to say like 2010, 2011 is when I because they used to have something called Mountain Dew Throwback. Nowadays it's called Mountain Dew Real Sugar, but it was called Mountain Dew Throwback, and I really, really started liking Mountain Dew around that time. And I think just over time, and there was another point too, because I had a roommate in college sophomore year who loved cherry Coke, like, more than anything. And I got hooked onto cherry Coke because of the guy, because we had a little mini fridge in our dorm room, and it would just be full of cherry Coke all the time.
Wow.
And so that was another time, like, where my soda taste changed. And I think just over time, I slowly was like, yeah, I'm just not feeling root beer anymore. And like every so often, like if I go to the movies, I'll get a root beer with my popcorn. And I don't know, it's just something that I'm just like, I'm not really a big fan.
That's actually kind of where that's where I'm going with Dr. Pepper. Like, I used to be a Dr. Pepper nationalist. It's like, this is the best soda. It's easily the best soda. And as I must have just had too much of it or something, because actually, there was the creamy coconut one that just came out.
Yes.
Or at least that we just started having. And I had the one in the bottle. I was like, this is the tastiest, like, Dr. Pepper I've ever had. This is so good. I love this. And then I bought a 12-pack, and I had one can of it, and I was like, this sucks. And
I hated the cans of it. It's terrible.
Yeah, the can is objectively worse. And normally, I prefer the canned sodas. I don't like bottled sodas because they usually taste different. I don't know why, but they do. The canned one of this Dr. Pepper is trash.
I can actually pinpoint when, like, I used to it is trash, by the way. You're absolutely right. Just to top that off, but I used to love Domino's. I used to think Domino's, like, going back to our fast food tier list, there's a time where I thought Domino's was like the premier pizza. But then in 2020, when we were all staying at home, there was a Domino's like 2 minutes away from where I was staying at the time. And I had a period of time where I was just getting it all the time. And there was a point around that time where fast food, just the quality dipped. And I think you could probably agree right around that time is when just fast food as a whole really took a nosedive in terms of quality of food. And it was the same thing with Domino's. And like nowadays, I really can't stand having Domino's anymore because I had it so much in 2020, and for me the quality dipped huge at that point.
Didn't we rank it super high?
Well, I remember when we did the ranking, I was like, I'm not really big on Domino's, but we put it on the same tier as Pizza Hut, which after that ranking, we have a friend of ours that loves Pizza Hut, and so I went and got a Pizza Hut pizza. This was after we did our ranking video. And if we were to re-rank Pizza Hut, I'd put it a lot lower.
Oh,
because
even
the pizza
lower.
the pizza I had at Pizza Hut was abysmal.
I'm
Like,
pretty
actually,
sure we ranked Domino's high. We ranked Papa John's and Pizza Hut on the same level.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I would definitely drop Pizza Hut a tier. Like the one I had, and maybe it was just a bad day or whatnot for the pizza, but man, it was terrible. It was really, really bad. But going back to Domino's, yeah, that's one of those examples you mentioned. Dr. Pepper used to love it, and then you had it recently, and you're like, ugh, this ain't it.
It's just ain't it. Yeah.
But I want to circle back to GameStop really quickly, because I mentioned earlier that I have a map in my kitchen right now of the Caribbean, and you've seen it before. It's like got Cuba and like the bottom part of Florida and all that. And it's a map that I got for pre-ordering Assassin's Creed 4 back in 2013. But at the time, I didn't really want the game. But this is when GameStop used to give out posters and stuff if you pre-ordered a game. So I went into the GameStop and I pre-ordered it. I put it down $5 and got this poster. I went back home and it's like, oh, I actually don't really want this game. So I came back the next day, and it was like, I think it was the same. It was definitely the same person that had my pre-order. That took my pre-order the day before. And I was like, hey, I changed my mind. I don't want the game after all. And they're like, oh, it took you one day to figure that out, huh? And I'm like, yeah. I think there's a lot of people that did that to where GameStop's like, we're not giving out stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, they used to give out posters and stuff and steal books. And I remember another example would be if you pre-ordered Smash Bros. On the 3DS and the Wii U, and you would get access to Mewtwo when the Wii U version came out.
Oh.
Because the 3DS version came out in October of 2014. No, sorry, it was the beginning of 2014 it came out. And then in late 2014, Smash Bros. For the Wii U came out. And if you GameStop gave me a code for Mewtwo, or one part of the code, and the other receipt had the other code, and you put in both those codes and you get Mewtwo for free. Well, not for free because you're pre-ordering, but yeah. That was something cool that they did back then. They would never do anymore. But the one thing that they used to do that really pissed me off was for like costumes. Like you mentioned how in Starfield that if you pre-order you get a costume. That was a big thing too. Like, get access to like Mass Effect, for example. Like get a rare gun if you pre-order. Or Red Dead, get an outfit if you pre-order. The problem was they would put these codes on the receipts, and sometimes I would just lose the receipt and I'd lose the code. That happened all the time with me. I said, I should have taken a picture, or because it used to be way back in the early days of the 360 PS3s, the code would be in the pamphlet in the box.
Yeah, and then people would like open them up while they're in the store, and then.
Oh, that's true. Well, I guess that's why they put it on the receipt. But I do miss those days of the code being in the case instead of on the receipt. Because I lost so many receipts, or I just throw them away without thinking. Like I'd forget. Like, I gotta make sure I write down the code or put in the code, and I just throw away the receipts. And, I don't get my free stuff anymore.
You know what? I wouldn't mind, because I probably wouldn't be the person who has to pay for it. Because like you were saying about not even just pre-order bonuses, but like getting posters just for buying a game, like Red Dead Redemption 1, you get the whole thing, or GTA 5, you get the map of San Andreas and the Blair County, whatever.
Los Santos.
Los Santos is the southern half. The northern half is a different county.
Oh, where Trevor is, yeah. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
But yeah, like you'd get those maps just for getting the game. Skyrim had the same thing. You just got a map of Skyrim, and it was really cool, especially the Skyrim one, because it was a textured paper, so it was even better. But just including those kinds of smaller things, I get they were just extra, right? They were just a nice thing for us. But the amount of things they've been cutting out, right? They cut out including certain things like posters. They've cut out the entire manual. Like the book just doesn't come in physical games anymore. You don't get one.
Manuals anymore,
and you don't need one. You can just go online, so that's fine. But sometimes it's nice to just have a physical thing to look at. I liked companion apps. I thought it was such a cool idea that you'd be able to connect your phone to your PS4, and you can play Fallout 4 and use your phone as a Pip-Boy. That was the coolest thing. They had, I think...
That does sound pretty cool, yeah.
I don't know if they did that for GTA, but I think they did it for Watch Dogs, or they did something similar to Watch Dogs. Or maybe I'm just thinking of the Wii U version where you had you could use the tablet separately in like multiplayer or something. I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, companion apps were such a cool idea. I really like that, and I'm pretty sure you can still access some of them through, or at least for Android devices, Apple devices. Too bad. You're not allowed to download outside APKs. But yeah, no, having companion apps is such a neat idea to accommodate certain aspects about the game. It's an immersion thing, you know. I saw this person make Helldivers. I don't know how real it was. They said it was working real, and it looked convincing enough. But the stratagem input wrist device, he just made it so that you tap the buttons to get the directions necessary to input a stratagem. And it actually connected to his computer. It worked, and it's cool. And I've seen people already make full like cosplays of the Helldiver armor. They were fast. My goodness, they were fast. Or at least specifically the Helldiver 2. I don't know how different it looks in Helldivers 1. But
The only problem,
yeah, it's super cool things. I'd like more reason for that stuff to occur.
the only problem with companion apps is eventually down the line they got to shut those apps down. And there are games from back, a decade ago that did have companion apps where like game features that weren't, critical to the game, but had aspects of the game on these apps that don't exist anymore because, time goes on and they don't, the game's not new or popular anymore, so they close down the app and you lose out on some cool features. So if there was a way, before they shut down the app, they just update the game to put it, whatever stuff is tied to the app automatically in the game, that'd be a good feature, but nobody's done that, of course, so you lose out on some cool stuff forever because the apps don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So there were some 360 and PS3 era games similar to what you said with Helldivers and other games where that was somewhat common back then, and those apps don't exist anymore.
Well, no, Helldivers didn't have an actual app. Just someone made a thing that it was their own make to connect to their computer, and they made it a full wrist-mounted thing. But it'd be cool if they had that sort of thing, so you could just go tap 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 tap. It's unnecessary on PlayStation because the controller is way more efficient at using. But on PC, it's a little awkward because I think you can't move unless you rebind the stratagem buttons, which is not a problem since I use a DualSense. But anyway, the thing I was going to say before I went off on that whole companion app tangent was we've increased the price of video games, right? And all you get is a digital copy of a game or a disc that downloads the digital version of the game and only uses the disc as authentication.
Yeah, that's the crappy thing too. Is like even discs nowadays, they're not even like legit discs. They're just like, oh, it's just the key to go online and download the game. Like if something were to happen, like they lock out being able to use the disc to install the game, the disc you bought is worthless.
Yeah, it really doesn't do much besides give you an authentication for actively playing a game. Like, oh, I have this whole game installed on my device. I cannot play the game while I don't have the disc in. And if I give the disc to someone else, they can play the game, but it's like a DRM. It's very weird. But the thing is, you're only getting that disc, right? This is where I'm going with this. And they used to give us things like posters and books and just small, interesting things. If they wanted to charge an extra $10 to include shit like that again, I wouldn't be opposed to it because it's extra at this point. And they've already shown that they're not going... Well, charge more for more is what I'm hoping they would do. Here's $80 for something that costs them an extra 50 cents to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just indicative of everything is, raising prices, giving you less than you had before.
Shrinkflation.
Exactly. One thing I want to end on with this episode tonight. One weird thing about PS5 that is just so weird to me is like, you've got the normal PS5, and then you could do a PS5 Slim, which doesn't come with a disc drive. The whole thing about these Slim versions, and the same thing with Xbox Series X, where it's called Xbox Series S for Slim, and the whole thing is like, oh, well, it's digital only. But you can buy, like for the PS5, you can buy a disc drive to add to your PS4 PS5 Slim. However, you have to go online and download software in order to be able to use this disk drive. And to me, that's so weird, because if I buy a disk drive, I should just be able to plug it into the console and it should work automatically.
Especially if it is made for the console. That just seems... That's just how that works.
Because I have a disc reader that I bought a while back when I was trying to create PS2 ISOs and whatnot. But I have a disc player that I can just plug into my computer. And because I have Windows Media Player that came automatically with the PC, if I want to play discs, like DVDs, on my computer, I just plug in this disc reader and play a DVD automatically through Windows Media Player. I don't have to download anything, which is like, okay, if I have let's say I have a PS5 Slim, and another thing too, I'm not sure how true this is, but I also heard that you always have to be online in order to use these disc drives, PS5. But let's say theoretically, like I buy it like 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line, I buy a PS5 Slim and it comes with a disc reader. Well, what if they don't have the option for you to download the software online anymore? Now this disc reader is useless. Or what if I lose my Wi-Fi connection, if it's true that you need to be online in order to use the disc reader? Well, now I can't use the disc reader anymore. And it's weird to me, like this piece of hardware is tethered to online software that will brick it and make it useless. If at some point either Sony decides to take down the ability to download the software, or I don't have the ability to because I don't have Wi-Fi, or my Wi-Fi cuts out, and it's just so weird to me. I don't understand the thought process of that. Oh yeah, you might have bought the disc reader, but you actually need to go online and download software in order to use it. It's just weird to me.
That's fucking ridiculous, because on a PC now, I'm too old for the console wars. They're over. Everyone lost. And the
we all lost.
we lost. The consoles were the ones who won. But the on a PC, you can literally, like, you get a disc reader. Like, sure, if you get a USB one, you might have to download some drivers or some firmware, something like that. But if you get one that plugs directly into the motherboard, it just works. You don't have to do any extra bullshit. It's maybe it's already like part of the operating system, and they just cut that out of the operating systems for the consoles. But like that's not even close to a problem. Now the hard part is actually finding a game that uses a disc that comes out within this decade for a PC, because you're not going to find a lot of that. I have from last decade that, like, we talked about the Fallout anthology. I have that, but it's all discs for the version I have. So I can't actually, like, I can't claim my version of Fallout 3 Game of the Year edition or Fallout 1 or 2. I bought Fallout 2 because it was like $1, but I just can't get them because they didn't give me a digital key. They only gave me a disc, and I can't use that because I don't have a disc drive. But I'm also not going to buy a disc drive so I can play Fallout 3, so there's that too.
Yeah, it's just the more time goes on, the more these game companies, take things away or just don't choose not to do things anymore. And it just seems so counterintuitive to trying to get people to buy your stuff. Like, we've talked about it before on this podcast about how I feel about, like, everything becoming digital only. Because then you lose out on so much. Like, there could be any point they could just take things away for whatever reason, and you just lose so much on media. If you don't have any sort of physical media and it's all digital, then not only do you not really own anything, because at any point they can just cancel your account or take whatever away, but you lose out on, like, so much media is going to become lost forever because they just switch to all digital as time goes on.
Yeah.
And it's just very weird that it's just going this way for not only games but movies as well. Like, I wonder how long it's going to be before cable dies, because everything is streaming. You can watch these shows on Paramount Plus or Hulu, or Amazon TV, or Netflix, or Disney Plus, or whatever.
You want to hear something weird?
What?
So I have a TV. I got a Samsung TV. I'm a Samsung stan. I've got Samsung phones left and right of me. But they have this Samsung TV thing that's just, it's like cable. It shows a bunch of channels you can scroll through, and they're kind of just forever shows. Like, we're always showing unsolved mysteries on this channel, and it's just going through them all. And it's not full cable. I'm not going to have access to everything, but they give me a lot of stuff. One of those channels is Minecraft gameplay, and it's the default channel.
It's just random streamers. Probably, what is it?
I don't know. I think it's just one guy. I don't think it goes through different dudes.
Same guy, 24/7. He doesn't sleep.
Yeah, I don't know who this dude is who snagged a deal with Samsung TV where all of his Minecraft streams or YouTube videos or whatever are just constantly airing. But if you turn the TV on after the TV does some kind of, usually it's like after it does an internal update or something, and it resets the channel that you leave it on, it'll go back to this Minecraft channel and just play. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to watch this. And wait a minute, no, I don't. I don't care about this at all. But yeah, that's the cable that they're giving us. That's the cable that companies want to see, is just forever Minecraft.
Forever Minecraft, only Minecraft, 24/7 Minecraft.
That's all we're gonna get. We're actually, we're pretty much falling into. I don't want to sound like a dirty commie or anything, but we're in that capitalistic dystopia that is less cool version of cyberpunk. We own almost nothing. Everything's too expensive, and we're just gonna need a subscription to operate our arms and legs.
You'll own nothing, and you will be happy.
Yep.
That's the
where
moral
we're
of
getting.
today's episode. With that being said, that seems like a good point to leave off for today. GameStop is dying, so
So you don't have to.
so you don't. Yeah. So there you go. Lucas, would you like to say anything, and then let these people go home?
Well, yeah, no, there's the amount of things that are going to close down and be absorbed into, as we see in the digital market, like Microsoft buying out various game companies. It's all gonna, what's the word? The singularity event. Everything's gonna merge into one thing, and we're all gonna be the matter that it absorbs. So, I guess that's fun. But we'll see when that happens. Until then, thank you so much for watching, for sticking around and watching this Placid Plastic podcast. We've got one more duck that's literally about to fall in like 3 seconds.
The porcupine duck is a new one, by the way. I don't know. I saw that when we started this episode.
Yeah, I saw that the pufferfish.
Sorry, I don't know why I said porcupine. Pufferfish.
Unfortunately, it doesn't go.
It don't.
There we go. Here we go. Is it the duck you? Perfect.
Yeah. What a. All right. Well, with that, everyone, duck you. We'll see you later.
Duck you, and we'll see you next week.